6:45 is now the time, and this morning we are presenting the last in our Hate Rising series, Anti-Semitism in America.
Yeah, somehow bigotry and hate that used to be too shameful to speak aloud is now printed on signs, projected on stadium walls, and shouted across college campuses.
Activists, lawmakers, and police are working together to criminalize inciting violence or intimidating Jewish people and other minorities without violating free speech rights. But the most powerful weapon against hate is us.
Yeah, friends, family, even strangers who witness hateful conduct and refuse to ignore it. Small individual acts of bravery can make all the difference.
We teach at the museum that there are four kinds of people. There are victims, perpetrators, bystanders, and upstanders. I like to spend most of my time talking about the upstanders in my life and in the world and try to be one as much as I can.
Michael Eagle is the chairman of the Florida Holocaust Museum in St. Petersburg. He's never forgotten the reason he's here is all thanks to a Polish couple, farmers named Michal and Katarina Gorula. They were Christians who hid Jewish families from the Nazis during World War II. The Gorulas were arrested, tortured in prison for 6 weeks, but they never told the Germans where Michael's grandparents were hiding. They were later executed for harboring Jews.
To me, it's a gift. I'm one of those unique people who can actually say, I wouldn't be alive but for the superhuman acts of people who were normal only on paper. Farmers who did these incredible things that they didn't have to do.
The international Jewish community maintains a growing list of these individuals called the righteous among nations, heroes who helped the Jews survive the Holocaust. It contains more than 27,000 names from 51 countries. They were the upstanders Eagle's talking about. Bystanders do nothing, upstanders act.
We don't have enough leaders at the national level strongly condemning the rise of neo-Nazis and anti-Semites throughout our country and in our community. It used to be the easiest thing in the world for elected officials to condemn Nazis. I mean, that was a softball, a slow pitch. But nowadays, for a variety of reasons, you have high-profile elected officials who won't explicitly and strongly condemn the hate mongers amongst us.
What about a pop star like Kanye West? How detrimental is that to your fight?
It's very, very dangerous. I mean, if you've not heard, I'm sure you've heard the statistic that he has more followers than there are Jews in the world.
Because young people look up to their role models, whether we are talking about actors or athletes or musicians, whoever young people follow on social media. I think it would be really helpful if those voices against anti-Semitism were even stronger.
I don't even have a word to describe what I saw in that building.
That's rapper Meek Mill, who has tens of millions of social media followers, describing his tour of the Auschwitz death camp in Poland. He was a guest of Patriots owner Robert Kraft at the 35th annual March of the Living. Mill says it was important to him to learn about the Holocaust firsthand.
I always wanted to know, not through the internet, not through a phone, not through a TV. I wanted to know for myself. So I thought it would be important for me to come here and see myself and be able to, if I ever spoke on it, make sure I'm speaking in the proper terms and giving people the proper education.
That's one more influential voice standing up against anti-Semitism. The FBI, the Anti-Defamation League, and the Southern Poverty Law Center all report an increase in anti-Semitic violence and vandalism nationwide, in neighborhoods, cities, synagogues, and museums. This year, Florida lawmakers passed landmark legislation criminalizing such actions, and 2 legislators flew to Jerusalem with the bill so Governor Ron DeSantis could sign it during the celebration of Israel's 75th anniversary.
In Florida, we treat anti-Semitism the way we treat racism.
The law, the first of its kind in the nation, makes a number of anti-Semitic and racist acts felonies, giving law enforcement the ability to arrest those responsible. The violations include distributing harassing leaflets in residential neighborhoods, a popular tactic of hate groups, threatening or intimidating anyone based on their wearing something that indicates their religious or ethnic heritage, like traditional Jewish garb, interrupting or disturbing a funeral or memorial service in public or a private residence, and displaying or projecting any image onto a structure or property without an owner's written consent.
What it says is that the government, our legislature, is certainly in Florida, is not going to tolerate it. And that is a very clear distinction between anything that happened in Nazi Germany.
We're going to take a lot stronger stance than most people take. I'm not going to let these people get out of hand. They're just nasty, hatred individuals, and we got to draw a line in the sand, and that's what we've done. People say, well, isn't this just a Jewish issue? Well, it might be right now, but where does it stop? Next will be African Americans, then it'll be Asians, then it'll be Hispanics, then it could be anything. Just depends on who they hate.
Our standard has to be realistic. We should work as if we're going to eradicate anti-Semitism from Earth. But we also have to be realistic to know that it was here before us and it's going to be here after us, that it should not discourage us, it should galvanize us. That is an opportunity.
An opportunity that all of us have every day to make our lives and our communities a little better by speaking up for what's right and standing up against hate.
You can see all of the special reports in this series on our website right now, as well as the CBS 12 News 1-hour special presentation, Hate Rising, Anti-Semitism in America. We'll be right back.